Live from the Century 21 Showtime studio in LaSalle, Ontario. You're listening to the Nick and Joe Show, where we talk about the people, places, and faces of our community. It's showtime.
What a great introduction. Welcome back, everybody, to the Nick and Joe Show. I love that introduction. Very energetic, very exciting, hard-hitting. The girls have done a great job putting that together, so we're pumped about it. Welcome back to the Nick and Joe Show. If you're looking for a diamond or a beautiful watch this holiday season for that someone special, give our buddy Danny Thomas, some call him Diamond Danny, Big Daddy Danny, whatever you want to call him, he's our man at Precision Jewelers, located on Howard Avenue. Dad, let's introduce our guest, because as we know, this podcast is about people, places, and faces. So let's chat about who we have in the room today.
Wow. I've never heard Dan Thomas be called Big Daddy. But, Danny, if you're listening to our podcast, you're the man. Anyways, as we do every week, we have some great guests. Of course, our co-host here, always Mr. Charlie Hotham from Hotham Building Materials. I always call you Hotham and then Hotham, but it's Hotham from Hotham Building Materials. And Charlie, welcome back.
Glad to be here, Joe. Thanks for the invitation.
You're a regular. And of course, we have a special guest. Now, this guest here, I got to meet last year for the first time. Of course, Charlie has known Debra McVeety for years. We got to present an award at the BizX Awards last year, and I thought we really clicked during that award. And so, Nick, you're out. We're starting a new podcast here. But
Deb is in.
Debra. Debra McVeety. On LinkedIn, it says she's an experienced general manager and commercial leasing professional with a demonstrated history in the shopping center and design industry, skilled in negotiation, budgeting, facility management, asset management, investment properties, real estate professional, attended the University of Windsor. Welcome. Wow.
Thank you. I hope that didn't put
heck of a resume. I like
that. I better hide my trophies.
Don't read mine up against hers, please.
So, anyways, thank you. Welcome. We promised to take it easy, but I know that you can handle anything that Charlie and I have coming. As a matter of fact, I think we're the ones who have to be afraid. But anyways, Charlie, you take it from here.
Well, welcome. We're certainly glad to have you here, Deb. And as Joe had indicated, you and I go back a long ways. I think back in the early days of the BizX Awards. And as Joe said, we kind of clicked as well way back in the day. And we kind of were award partners for years to come after that. And I've enjoyed every moment of it. And glad to see you back in town. I know you were here for a little while, and then you went to Toronto and to the Big Smoke for a while to try some other things, and now you're back running the mall in Tecumseh. And maybe you could share with our listeners a little bit of your responsibility and what your role is at Tecumseh Mall.
Sure. Well, first of all, Charlie, we're a little bit of the dynamic duo when it comes to the award presentation, and we had such a good time last year with Joe. So, that was terrific. And so Tecumseh Mall, yes. So I've been managing Tecumseh Mall probably since 2008, but really been part of that property since 1998. It started when I was 12, clearly. But I have been managing and leasing that property. But in my career, I've been really lucky in the sense that I've had an opportunity to work with shopping centers across the country, lease property across the country, work with Ivanhoe Cambridge, 20 Vic Management, Primaris REIT, and now I'm with Europro. So currently I'm leasing and managing Tecumseh Mall. And of course, right before this craziness, this pandemic, we were looking at some significant interior and exterior renovations and development. So this has kind of ground things a bit to a halt for now. But you know what, I think we'll be moving forward, and I think we'll be seeing changes.
Of course, a continuation of of your comments, COVID has placed a big change in the retail industry. We're almost seeing big box stores now not becoming big box stores anymore. They're probably becoming more boutique style. Maybe you can share what your thoughts are towards the retail industry, where it's going, what's happening right now, and where do you think the future is in retail?
Oh, that's a big question. I think that, first let me say, I think that there's a lot of diversity taking place. So I think that it's not just retail anymore. I think that as developers, we're looking more at mixed use. And I think consumers are much more savvy. They have more choices, and I think that the thought process is that online sales is really kind of taking over bricks and mortar. And I don't believe that to be the case. I believe that retailers need to evolve, and I think that they need to understand technology, and I think that they also have to understand kind of that experiential situation for consumers. Consumers are smarter and they want more, but I don't think that you can replace the bricks and mortar experience with an online process. So I do feel that's strong. During the COVID situation, I mean, this is something that it's interesting because in the shopping center industry, we kind of have been preparing for something for many years. Like, we probably have had a pandemic plan in place for the last 10 years. And I will tell you that we spent huge amounts of money on consultants and people to write these things up, and used none of it. So, it's hard to be prepared for something like this, but I think that that's kind of one of the biggest takeaways for not just small business, but all business, is to be prepared for some kind of crisis that it's not like something tangible like a fire where you can replace everything. This is something that they all have to be completely prepared for and be able to pivot. I think that's a word that we've all been using and using. I mean, it's very important to be able to pivot and to understand what you can do. There's a couple of great examples here in the city, but with respect to retail, the unfortunate part and the challenging part is that there are retailers out there who have been doing exceptionally well through this whole thing because they had the opportunity to. They had exterior entrances, they were deemed essential, those types of things. So that there were a lot of circumstances that were completely out of control for a lot of these retailers.
Interesting. So, in the U.S., we've seen some very, high-end stores, names, brands that have been around for a long time, and yet you hear, they're in Chapter 11, I believe, and bankruptcy and
Le
so
Chateau.
forth.
I just heard it on the news today.
Yeah.
Le Chateau.
Le Chateau. They're another one.
Yeah.
Is it maybe that it was inevitable that their business wasn't prepared, and this just wasn't the true cause of their failure of their business?
I would say that's probably accurate. I
Okay.
think that there are a lot of retailers who maybe have not adjusted or have not evolved in the way that the world has. And certainly technology is one of those things. But I think one of the big takeaways from what we've all experienced since March is that retailers, businesses, all businesses, need to be prepared with an online presence, and not just kind of sharing the product, but also connecting with your consumers, connecting with your customers, connecting with your community, and connecting with your colleagues. There's this huge push for connection, I think, now. At the beginning of this, I sat down with our marketing director, and it was probably early March, and we knew that,
Don't worry, we can edit anything you say. Okay. Okay. We can edit anything you say.
So we knew shit was about to hit the fan.
Say it the way it is.
And we sat down and we thought, man, like, how are we going to? You can't just market the way we have done for years.
Absolutely.
You can't just put your product out there and say we're the best and we've got events coming in, come into the, you can't market that way. So we really sat down and thought about who we were going to be in this community. And before we kind of put our marketing plan in place, we really kind of looked at the questions and how this could affect people and how this could affect their mental health and how this could affect their well-being. And we decided to create a marketing plan, and we followed through with it, that not just talked about our retailers and our offering, even when those offerings weren't available, but we talked about how we can reach people and how we can help people and how we can kind of touch their emotions and maybe give them some positive feelings and maybe give them some hope and not just, we didn't just talk about kind of what we were selling or what our tenants were offering. We talked about kind of the community and we connected to them, and so far that has been a really solid strategy for us. Tecumseh Mall has been a challenging property for many years. For a long time I was with Devonshire Mall, and Devonshire has always been the big player in the community, and they've always done an exceptional job. And when you are not the biggest player, when you're the guy that was kind of put in place to protect the interest of the biggest player, and then you have to kind of evolve and become create your own identity, and that happens through dispositions and acquisitions and all of those things, but you really have to be creative with your marketing, and we just found that strategy is really connecting and really trying to understand what the community needs rather than what we want to share with them, I think was an important lesson.
Deb, how much are your tenants concerned with the upcoming Christmas season? We all know in the mall business, or certainly in the retail business, survival circles around Christmas time because of the amount of spending that's going to take place. Now with the online issue, the COVID-19 issue, your tenants, they have to be absolutely so concerned about what they can do in the next couple months for survival. Do you think that after this Christmas season is over, that there are going to be some of your tenants that will survive and will not survive?
That's a good question. We have had a couple of casualties through this, but to your point earlier, they were tenants that probably were on their way out already. And we have some real survivors, and we've got some really innovative tenants who have kind of taken this scenario and done the very best that they can. And we've got not just our tenants, but I see around the city there are some restaurants that have done an exceptional job. And I mean, I'll use one in particular, John Max on Lausanne Parkway. And again, their circumstances allowed them to do this. They've got space, they've got the opportunity. But if you walk into John Max, you'll see that they have everything partitioned, and they've got tents out in the back, and they've got heaters, and they have adjusted to the circumstances that they're in. And I think that is probably one of the most important things that we all have to look at through this, is trying to figure out how to adjust to our circumstances. So, I mean, but there are some sectors that are doing exceptionally well. Actually, Charlie, yours, is one that is up. Building supplies is, that I want to say that over last year they're up across the country over 5%. And grocery were last year at this time, they were probably up around 7%. Now they're up 12%. So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of sectors that are doing exceptionally well. It's the unfortunate part is there's a lot of haves and have-nots. And then there's guys like Good Life Fitness. who were, rock solid. They've done everything right. They have kept up with technology. They understand their customer. They understand their needs. But something like this, the circumstances are just so out of their control.
It's almost like the Achilles tendon, right? Or David and Goliath, if you will, right? It's hard you can't really plan for something like this, and that's something, the damage is just a product of something that was unforeseeable, right? And even the biggest, like you said, the biggest players in the city, the biggest businesses that have been rock solid for years. Look at the big push of health and fitness. It is huge, and everybody's into fitness. Everybody's, mindful about health and wellness now. And then all of a sudden this comes out of nowhere, where it really caused a major blow to the gym industry, to the health and fitness industry, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe not so much to companies that are selling products. I think I mentioned before I bought a Peloton, and I think everybody and their mother ended up buying, some sort of workout equipment for home. And so, they're doing well in that aspect. But yeah, the gyms are hurting right now. And I think some of it you can prepare for, but some of it you just can't. Like you said, you're almost a product of your environment. John Max had the space to expand. John Max had the ability to put those tents up, but there's some businesses, if you're in a tight-knit quarters or whatever the case is, you're limited and you have no choice. You can be as innovative as you want, but you're kind of euchred to a certain extent, right? So it's tough. It's a very dynamic situation, and it's still unfolding, and we're kind of curious to see how it keeps going moving forward. It's pretty scary stuff.
And all of that diversity that you speak of, Deb, you spoke about it. Nick, you said the same thing. The Johnny Macs of the world, they're fortunate. They've been extremely successful. They've got a solid financial footing. So they could afford to go do that with space and financial wherewithal. You look at Tommy's Barbecue. I happened to be there one day about a month and a half ago for lunch, and he's got booths outside. And the day I was there, he had a business in Windsor that put up awnings and things. He's being creative. He's got the space, but he obviously has the wherewithal to spend money, and he's putting curtains up and heaters outside so people can be outside all year long. Well, that's great for those individuals who have that successful financial foundation. But there are a lot of small business that, because their business is down, don't have that kind of resource to be creative because they don't have the space and they don't have the money, and they are struggling. Mm-hmm. It is a tough road to hoe.
Yeah, Charlie, and I'll continue on that discussion because Debbie has touched on something. I think businesses today, you have to reinvent yourself. No question about it. You have to brand yourself. You have to reinvent yourself. Years ago, people took the perception that if it's not broken, don't change it. Today, they say if it's not broken, change it anyways. Because preparedness of situations like this, yes, it's happened, but you can't be complacent no matter how well you're doing. You always have to be prepared to take your business to the next level. Adapt technology. It doesn't mean that technology is going to be the only thing in our business. In our business, technology has been our savior from virtual tours and videos and podcasting. Everything we do is about reinventing ourselves, but we still need to have that human touch. We still have to have that human connection. We can never leave that. But real estate years ago was only about human touch, not about technology. Today, we've adapted, we've changed. The transformation from COVID, when it happened, really was not problematic for our organization because we were ready. We adapted technology a few years ago. So it made our transition to business much easier, and also made it easier for our customers, our sellers, our buyers, and so forth. So, again, going back and touched on that, is that I think the retailers that are, falling off to the side really were just complacent in the way that they did business for a long time. And
I think that there's a lot of truth to that. I think that there's a lot of retailers and businesses that simply were so happy with status quo because they were doing well. I mean, they were fine. So what was the point of really kind of investing and learning and growing and all of those things? Not saying that they didn't. I'm just saying that if they were moving along well, then there was no reason for them. And this kind of thing really kind of opens your eyes. So it's interesting that you brought up the relationships. What I've found through this is something that I didn't anticipate, but has been a really one of the positive outcomes is because in commercial real estate, so I lease, retail space, commercial space, all that kind of stuff, and we're much.
What a job, by the way.
You never know. So we're in the same business, right? And when I'm working with the brokers and the leasing reps for a lot of these companies, and I'm we're talking about renewals and all of that. Usually those conversations are they're lighthearted. We have a couple of jobs and then we talk about the numbers and we get things done. Now, like through this, the difference has been we're having real conversations and we're really human to human in it. And it doesn't matter how successful you were at one point. Everybody is going through this struggle, and those relationships and those conversations have grown, and they've gotten much deeper, and they've become much more meaningful. So the relationships that we have even within our industry have changed, and I think that that's something that came out of this that will carry us a long way into the future as everything evolves, as businesses evolve, and as these properties change. So that's a big part of kind of what has taken place. And there are some people in the city who amaze me before this pandemic took place, who have faced diversity, and I'll use the word pivot, but what they've done is really take a really tragic or difficult situation and turned it into something very positive, and I think of the Campanas when I mention this. They've through the loss of their son, they managed to create Run for Rocky and those kinds of things. So this isn't pivoting and thinking on your feet and taking a difficult situation and turning it into something positive isn't new. It's just something we all really have to think about daily. So, I think that these are really important lessons that we're learning.
Yeah, definitely. We're all evolving and learning and building those relationships. It's an important part of
for sure
of this moving forward. So, all right, everyone, let's take a quick little couple minute break, and we'll be back in just a few. Looking for quality construction building supplies for your next project? Give Hotham Building Materials a call toll free at 1-866-593-0001 or visit them at hothambuilding.com.
All right, everyone, welcome back. And again, this show is sponsored by Precision Jewelry's Danny Thomas. Go visit him for a great ring or a beautiful watch. Danny has it all. And he is a good friend of ours. Just let him know that Monty sent you, and you'll get a big discount.
Make sure when he waits on you, he has his calculator in his hand.
That's right.
Gotta have his calculator in his
So
hand.
you're saying you're getting a big discount
Big
from
discount.
Big Daddy?
Yeah, Big Daddy. Yeah, Big Daddy Joe. Big Monty. Anyways, and so, Debra, when I went on Google, because I needed to Google to really find out who this person is, and I said there's got to be more story to just a successful person running a mall. And it says Miss McVeety maintains strong community relationships with a number of local nonprofit organizations as an active member of 100 Women Who Care, and most recently been offered the privilege of joining the board of the Windsor Essex Child Youth Advocacy Center.
That's correct. Yes.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Maybe share a little of outside the management business.
Well, so 100 Women Who Care is an organization that I've been part of for years. And I think that is probably one of the most Are you familiar with 100 Women Who
No,
Care
I am.
and 100 Men Who Give a Damn? FYI.
No.
Okay. I'm just in a recruiting mode now. So let me tell you what we do. And I love this in particular because we focus on local nonprofit organizations, and some of them are so grassroots so you probably haven't even heard about them. So what we do is there's usually 100 of us that get together quarterly, and we bring a check for $100. And before we have this meeting, all of the members of the group will submit a charity of choice, and there is a random draw while we sit there for 1 hour. So we get together for 1 hour, we bring a check for $100, and then 3 people are chosen randomly to speak about their charity. They have 5 minutes to give us the background on the charity, and we have a closed vote, and within 1 hour we raise $10,000 for that charity.
I love it.
It's
That's
so
incredible.
It is so fantastic, and I spent so many years kind of like on the the charity committee for Devonshire Mall and Windsor Regional Hospital, and doing the golf tournament. We would spend 6-8 months to raise $60,000, and it blows me away that we can raise $10,000 in an hour, and then at the end of the year we get together with 100 men who care, 100 men who give a damn, and we have a combined meeting, and we raise anywhere, because we get some corporate sponsors. I'll be hitting you up for that later. We get some corporate sponsors, and we usually wind up raising about $30,000 in that hour for a charity in the city of Windsor.
That's
and
incredible.
It's really wonderful.
Talk about giving back to the community, really being a part of it. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's the easiest thing.
Wow.
It's we get together, we have a quick cocktail and a nibble, and literally we're out in an hour.
So I'm going to donate the $300 to that. I'm just going to take it off Nick's commission. But yeah, I'll donate $300 on my behalf
I like how this
to
is
that.
going.
Okay, so I like where it's going. And if there's already 100 men, just make it 101.
Oh, don't you worry, we'll have room.
Well, that's
incredible.
great, and congratulations
Thank you.
on that. So going back to, the retail business and so forth, and again, I think I asked you, but where do you see retail tomorrow, being that online presence? And you mentioned that it's never going to take away from the foot traffic, but do you still see changes? Is shopping maybe going to become where people can shop with virtual gear, going inside stores to see certain products? I mean, in our business, we're seeing a lot of VR gear for homes, and the future is someone in their own living room could put on a VR gear and walk inside throughout a home and so forth. Today, the MGMs, the sporting events, you can actually walk inside arenas today. Do you think part of that may become in certain retail sectors?
I think that technology is already highly present in the retailers that are looking to evolve, and not just in the retailers, but in the shopping centers as well. I mean, even if you look at traffic counting now, right? If you look at the technology that's available now, not only are we counting foot traffic, but looking at personal spending habits. Every time you walk into a shopping center, you probably somebody, there's some information that's being drawn from your phone, your technology,
Analytics,
to find
yeah.
out, yes, that's right, to find out kind of what your shopping habits are like. And if you love Bath and Body Works, then you might get an ad on your phone the second you walk past them. So there's all kinds of things that are taking place, and there's certainly some retailers that are taking advantage of really incredible technology with respect to the VR stuff. Where you can kind of walk into a place and you can see what outfits will look like on you. But I still feel like there is a feeling of community and experience when you walk through a shopping center, or where you go, where there's a gathering of people. Now, we're not looking at gatherings of people right now, but I mean, I think that that is something that humans crave. And I don't know if, I feel moving forward, there will be a very strong connection between the online presence and the bricks and mortar. I really feel that, I don't feel that bricks and mortar is going to go away. I think that people crave the company of other people, and I think that there's some energy that you feel and that you absorb when you walk through a busy shopping center, and I don't know, I don't think that that's going to go away. It will evolve. Retail will evolve as long as we're paying attention to shopping habits and we're paying attention to what customers really want, and I think customer service is a big factor in that, and something that may have gone by the wayside for some time, but I think that customer service and experience are the things that are going to keep propelling retail forward.
I'd have to agree with you. I know for sure. I mean, if you look at some things can be purchased on an Amazon, on a bestbuy.ca kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But if you don't know, I don't know, I'll take audio equipment for your TV. If you don't know much about it, you got to talk to the guy at Best Buy, ask him the question. So there's the element of education of customer service that goes with that. So that's why I totally agree with you that there's certain things that you can go online for. If you know exactly what you want and you don't have questions, fine, click, purchase, ship to your house, no problem. But for me personally, I mean, I'll take clothing now as an example. I have a specific fit for this, if it's Tommy Hilfiger, then if it's this, then if it's that. Everything fits differently, so I gotta go check it out, feel it, put it on, see how it fits, and and I think a lot of people are in the same same category, right? Even for shoes, you just a 9.5, a 10 could be small on you versus another product, right? So it just depends on who you're dealing with and what you're buying. Definitely, I think there's more room for movement with the technology aspect of things. I think it's awesome to see if you can put on virtual headgear or something to see what a shirt looks like, but to feel what it's like is something totally different, and that's the important part when you're buying it, right? So, and I know for me it's a pain in the butt. I don't want to get Christmas is the best thing ever. I tell you right now, everybody buys the Christmas gifts and I return half of them because it's not what you're looking for, it doesn't fit right, or whatever the case is. So it's hard, right? So that's why I like personally shopping, going to try it out, and then this way you avoid that, right? And that's the same thing with the clicking away. Sometimes it's just not what you're looking for, and it's hard to find that out until after.
I feel a tear. It's like music to me.
I raised them well.
Yeah.
Deb, I gotta
go shopping.
I want to ask you, in your situation as being the general manager of Tecumseh Mall, what was corporate's attitude to COVID? Did they feel they had a role in assisting your tenants to assist them in survival, with rates being cut, square foot costs dropping? What role did corporate feel they had to play to assist keeping their tenants alive?
Oh, that's such a good question. When the city shut down the shopping centers, the common question that I had from everybody was, well, I mean, what could you possibly be doing? The shopping center's closed. But we were working so hard at that time trying to make sure that our tenants were going to survive this. And it's such a good question, Charlie, because there was so much thought put behind what we had to do. And I mean, we had the government programs, we had CECRA that was kind of stepping up, but we really didn't know what that looked like or how that was going to evolve. So from the very beginning, we had to start looking at rent relief, abatements, kind of trying to figure out how to reduce their expenses for a short period of time. Of course, we had no idea how long that would be, and we didn't know what that would look like. So some of those were rent deferrals, some of them were abatements, but we knew that we had to work with each of our tenants, particularly the ones, we had to work with everybody except for LCBO. So right. LCBO survives. In
the best and in the worst of times.
Yeah. I hear you.
I helped them survive.
I think I helped you survive.
You did.
So you know what I think is really interesting too? I think it's very interesting where the competition between brands has now become a camaraderie. So I saw this really cool ad. I don't know if you guys heard about this morning, but Burger King had put a print ad out. I think it was yesterday. I could be wrong. Could be blowing smoke. I don't know. But they put this ad out, and the ad was, we'd love you to buy a Whopper, but a Big Mac is good too. And then they went on to mention,
wow,
support McDonald's, and then they rattled off so many names.
Wow, that's awesome.
And I just thought, man, that is cool.
What a change.
Isn't that amazing? Like, so
2 years ago, that would never have happened.
Never in a million years.
No.
Again.
So, I mean, to see these national brands come together, and I feel like it's the same thing in the city, where we're doing, I see the restaurants coming together, and I see different segments of the community coming together, and I see local businesses partnering with nonprofit organizations, and I think what we've kind of seen is that everybody is sort of pulling together to make sure that we, they climb one rung up the ladder and they pull somebody up with them, and I think that's kind of what we're seeing, and I love that.
That's incredible. Definitely something unique to right now, right? Yeah, that's not something that we're used to. Usually it's a cutthroat society with businesses, and it's just all about, personal success, right? So I mean, it's great to see, and that's a great success story.
Mm-hmm.
So Deb,
yep.
So many listeners will know how hard you work at the Tecumseh Mall to keep things together. We certainly have shared with listeners that you're very involved in our community with all sorts of different organizations. Mm-hmm. How does a person like yourself unwind, enjoy their weekends? What's it look like on a typical Saturday or Sunday for Deb McVeety?
Well, gee, Charlie. It involves wine.
I was going to say, I should have said there's going to be red wine in there.
You know what? I am very lucky in the sense that I have a great family and amazing friends. And man, this community is like no other. And I can tell you, I've lived kind of all over the place. Lived out west and in Toronto and Vancouver and Virginia. I've lived all over the place, and I will tell you that there's no other community like Windsor, Essex. I don't want to sound like an ad right now, but I mean the people in this community are incredible, and my friends are my family, and my friends who I've had for probably 2-3 decades, and Charlie, you and I have known each other for a very long time, and I just find that my release is with my friends and my family.
That's
wonderful.
Good.
An important part.
Well, Deb McVeety, thank you so much for being with us and participating in our podcast today. We will welcome you back one day to come back, because I'm sure that you have a storied life and you share so much in this community that somewhere, somehow, you may become part of the podcast.
Oh, I sure hope so.
We would love to do that. Again, thank you kindly. I hope all goes well with not only the businesses but yourself. You have a great holidays coming forward. And Charlie, thank you again for being part of our podcast. Fun. And
thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, and thank you. It was our pleasure. And Nick, of course, always a great introduction. Taught him well. But everybody, it's showtime. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
If you'd like to be a guest on our show, email us at joe@c21showtime.ca.